All right, so where did we stop? $45? Okay. Okay, all right, 46. All right, so 46 through 57. Mr. Lonnie, can you take us the rest of the way? Page 39, start with 46. Yeah, you know, just take us, yeah, start 57. Take us to
46. The precepts of Jesus Christ, who some of ye call Isa or Joshua,
Sananda,
Horus,
Karast,
sonship, must be practiced, and you are a child of God who is in all. Let me read the verse.
yeah.
John 10, 34, 36. Jesus answered them, is it not written in your law? I said, ye are gods. If he called them gods, into whom the word of God came, and the scripture cannot be broken, say ye, that sanctions and sent into the world. Who blasphemous?
Thou blasphemest.
Blasphemous, because I said I am the Son of God. 47. To attain freedom, one must engage in solid spiritual practice. 48. The Messiah, Jesus. Teachings must enter your bones, nerves, cells, and interior chambers of your heart. 49. Lip confession and the praising of his name as Jesus is not only inadequate and insufficient, it is simple. 50. It is pure hypocrisy. 51. We should become absolutely fearless. 52. This is life in reality. 53. No more words, no more talk, no more arguments, heated debates, or discussions. 54. No more wandering. As he said, I am in the Father, and the Father is in me. John 14:10. And you say, I am all, and all is in me. 55. Become the Christ. 56. Live in truth.
Keep going.
56. Live in truth. Enter silence. There is peace. Peace is silence. 57. That's the right path. That's right knowledge. Which leads one to right wisdom, right understanding. Even the noble Corinth, for by themselves Mohammedans, that they also must believe by way of Jesus before they die. The noble Quran. 4159. Clearly from the family of the scripture, from Adam to Muhammad, there is not anyone that should not believe by way of him. For he died. The day of resurrection, he, Jesus, will be a witness over them. Cord chapter 110 to 14, 61, 13 to 14, John 8, 18, 4, 8, 21 to 24, 1 John 4, 3, Romans 10, 9.
All right, so what do you get out of this, Mr. Alani?
And, one thing that just stuck in my mind off what I read was number 48. Says the Messiah Jesus' teachings must enter your bones, nerves, cells, and interior chambers of your heart. Point saying that whatever they were being taught, whatever we as humans get taught, we have to. If I were to relate and use a different analogy, I would say a sponge. A sponge with water.
Right.
Right. The sponge soaks all that. And sometimes, we are humans, we can be a little difficult, different, some of us are coachable, some of us aren't so coachable. Some of us might learn and get taught one thing, but that's why in a classroom you see people excel faster than other people.
Mm-hmm.
And if you believe what you're hearing and what you're being taught, you'll learn it quicker. And I think that some of it is because maybe you're more passionate about it, and you're multiple factors that play into how you observe information. By seeing, passion, and by the way you dissect the information. So if I'm not interested in something, I'll pick it up slower. Or I might not pick it up at all.
Okay.
And I think in a sense of also what he was saying, when Jesus was sent, he was, teaching and, trying to, say in another way, show people the righteous path. Because you lack belief in his words, so his teachings is difficult. Because he's preaching stuff that not necessarily are tangible and might require you to utilize your inner self and your inner mind for you to be able to understand the picture that he's trying to paint and to that. But it's not just him, it's multiple messengers and prophets, I assume, that had the same,
Okay. Anyone want to piggyback on what Mr. Lonnie just shared?
What I picked up in the passage is saying, you can say that your way is by Jesus Christ, but if you don't really know it within your soul, you're passionate, if you live by it, then like he's saying, you're keeping it pure with word. You're just saying it, but you're not really living it or doing it.
Okay.
But I didn't understand though what he was saying relating Jesus Christ into this scroll.
Right.
I just didn't understand.
Got it.
Because he was
Right.
saying that it's hypocrisy, right? But why him?
Right. Okay.
Why? I mean, maybe, but it does say that supposedly one of the what is it called, the end time miracles? We call them in Islam. It's like ticking, signs for the clock, small signs and the big signs. Jesus is supposed to be resurrected one more time before the end of time.
Resurrected or return?
Return.
Okay. Okay. All right. So why mentioning Jesus in the mind scroll? And why must I follow the precepts of Jesus? Well, first of all, what was Isa or Yahshua or Jesus's message? If you were to sum up his message, what was it? Was it?
Love each other unconditionally.
Anybody else?
You can do what I can do.
I don't know, but if I were to guess on the topic, I don't know. Wasn't it to believe in God?
All right. So I'm hearing love. I'm hearing belief.
To turn the other cheek.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, I can't hear son. Wait, son. We got to turn you up.
So what his
Again,
teaching?
son?
Yeah, can you hear me? I think
Yes.
Jesus' teaching was to turn the other cheek. So like to be I don't know, not to be vengeful or not that eye for an eye crap. Like, if you do me wrong, I'm going to turn the other cheek and then be mindful about it and just go about.
All right. So,
I think it's you can do what I can do.
okay.
Is the question, what was he teaching or why was he sent?
What was his job on earth? Right?
Yeah, so the question is, what, if we were to sum up Jesus's teachings, what would it sum up to? What was his main message? Is it you can do what I can do? Is it turn the other cheek? Is it believe in God? Or is it love? Why did he do what he did according to Bible and Quran?
Also sent, his book was
No, not the Torah.
no, it's
The
NGO.
Injil,
but,
right.
Who was he? What people was he sent to? What were his people?
According to Yahshua, his people were the lost tribe of the house of Israel.
Correct.
Now, that's important because he said the lost tribe of the house of Israel. There was only one lost tribe, and that was so he was saying he was sent to the house of Judah only. But you want to say something? Cut you off.
No, because I from the stories I read and some of like older scriptures, the people who he was sent to treated him extremely bad, even though he provided them with miracles that Prophet Muhammad, for example, didn't provide for his people, such as the lifting of the mountain or the supper, not the last supper, but the supper that he made, or
He made multiple fish.
yeah.
Here and then
Okay.
But like one of the
Right.
biggest ones where his people requested shade and he lifted a mountain and the mountain would move, a whole mountain wherever his people moved, and he would provide shade. And obviously these are all miracles, nothing is going to prove it. But
Okay. All right. Let me go back to something. Now remember, we said there's no proof or evidence that a Jesus ever existed. But now we're saying the precepts of Jesus must enter the very chambers of your heart. The summation of his teachings was to have love. First, love for the Most High, and then love for fellow humanity. Now, the key here is what we call in the Wapik a shack. A shack is divine love. There's different kinds of love. There's love of self, there's love of your spouse, there's love of your family, there's love of humanity, and then there's divine love.
use the same word, miracle.
A shack, Asham. And that is divine love. That is what you must have, or else you won't make it. Meaning, well, by make it, I mean when I'll come to life after death in a minute. But you have to have divine love. When you move with divine love, it connects you not with just you, but it connects you with your ancestors, and it connects you with your guardians. Your guardians are called Nataru, from where you get the word nature. Now, divine love is what smashes ego. It's when you can move to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because I'm doing this because this is my brother, or this is my sister, or this is my husband, or this is my wife, or this is my mother, or this is my father. When you can begin to move on the playing field of life, doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do, you start to increase this thing called a shak, your divine love. Now, again, the major hindrance to the reality of life is your ego. Your ego is your blinder. You see things the way you want to see it based on what you saw, hear, smell, taste, and felt. And you've got to expand your divine love. Without divine love, your efforts are null and void. You're going to do things for yourself and by yourself. And then when you finally expire, you are coming back. What do I mean by coming back? People who have not fulfilled their purpose, according to Panabab Yanun, when your spirit is like a bus, and your soul is the passenger on that bus. Your spirit then takes your soul to its next destination. But people who have not fulfilled their purpose, they will see a white light. And that white light sends them back, either through a rebirth or they come back. They cannot advance. And this will happen once you die. And then you see that if you see a white light and get returned back, you have 24 to 24,000 reincarnation periods before you can ascend.
You reincarnate with previous knowledge?
No,
You zero out.
your spirit, let me go back. Your spirit takes your soul to a destination. And what happens is you have
Get re-downloaded into the new chapter?
no, not as your conscious awareness, but those deeds that you've done that were either agreeable or disagreeable are with you, and it's what people call your karma. So if you, Alani, don't figure out what your purpose is here and live your purpose and fulfill that purpose, you'll come back. But when you come back, you won't know that you were Alani. You'll get glimpses of who you were, and those glimpses are called your deja vu. Or your deja vu. Now, when you do your purpose and you fulfill your purpose, you don't have to come back and you get to ascend to a higher plane. Those higher planes are what people call the seven heavens. And those seven heavens are simply your physical plane, CAL. Then there's the plane of force. Then there's the spiritual plane. Then there's the mental plane. Then there is the plane of divine truth. 6 is the plane of divine reality. And 7 is your return to the all. We are here on the physical plane, going allward. Now, if you don't fulfill your purpose, you will come back. Now, there's stages of what does come back mean. Do I come back immediately? Do I have to wait? And it depends on the actions that you do right now in this physical life. What people call Jahannam or hell is a burning, not burning us in your flesh, but the burning of desire. Whatever it is that kept you from ascending, you have to burn out. And who knows how long that process can take. Catholics call it purgatory, a waiting period. But what happens, what Panabab Yanun said, is you have similar to what's in Islam. As in Islam, you got an angel on your left and an angel on your right. What it is you have a descending guardian and an ascending guardian, so that when your time expires, your ascending guardian takes that's the carrier of your spirit and your soul, carries it to its destination. And that guardian meets with your ascending guardian, and they'll talk about the deeds you did while you were here. And you will see all of the deeds that you did while you were here. And you will be the judge of your soul. You'll see this. You'll see this.
Now, when you said it's when it expires, do you mean like when you die?
When you die, yes. Yeah, when you die. Then they'll present you with your own deeds, and you'll judge your soul. You'll say, I was effed up. Or you'll say, okay, I was pretty good. Or you'll say, I wish I could have done more. It'll be something, but you'll be the judge of your own soul. Now, how is it like you'll see all of your life's activities? Yes and no. And I think me and Abrar talked about this. I think it was Abrar. What happens is if you saw the movie The Arrival, it was a movie, and it's a very good portrayal of how Dr. York says they communicate. In The Arrival, these aliens came, and then there was a man and a woman scientist had to go and talk to these aliens. They were behind like a screen, and these aliens would put on the screen like an ink blot, and then they were trying to figure out what does this ink blot mean. They couldn't figure it out, but later they were able to decipher it, because when the Riskians or communicate with you, they'll give you an ink. It'll look like an ink blot, but it's a hologram, and based on that, you'll get terabytes of data, years of data in an instant. That's how they communicate. They don't need words. They can encapsulate everything that let's say the Torah, the Bible, and the Quran. It has a certain frequency, a certain color. It also has a certain form, a certain size, a certain power, and that is in an image. I give that image to Abrar, and immediately Abrar knows everything in the Torah, everything in the Injil, everything in the Quran instantly. That's how they communicate. And this is what is meant by 1,000 years will be as one day, and one day as 1,000 years when you read it in the Bible and in the Quran. Does that make sense? Now, at the very beginning of this, I said a lot of what I'm teaching you from Panavabian Moon, you won't be able to confirm until as you go along. And again, don't believe anything that I or he says, but to check these things out for yourself. There are worlds of information that have been kept from us deliberately. And then with his arrival is opening up all of these worlds that you haven't been privy to. For instance, me and Abrar were talking about the earth being hollow. And sometimes I take for granted that people know these things. Let me speak on that before we continue with the mind. Time check. All right. So what Dr. York taught and teaches is that long ago in the galaxy called Ilium, on a planet called Rizq, that's where the Rizgians are, of which he is one. The Rizgians are the ones who grew this particular universe. The first beings they created in this universe are called Netharu. When Sol, which was a sun, exploded, it formed our particular sun and these planets. On Rizq, there was Anu, there was Murdoch, and there was Humbaba, or what people call Zuin or Iblis. And Humbaba or Zuin wanted to be in charge of all of the fleets, but Murdoch, the son of Enki, was in charge of all of the fleets. Zuin got upset, and he attacked the planet Rizq by causing their ozone to deplete. The Rizkians had to leave their planet, go into other solar systems until they could find the minerals to repair their ozone layer. Rizq, as he says, is a tri-solar system. It has 3 suns and 19 planets. Rizq is one of the planets, but it gets lights from all 3 suns. When these Rizkians went to other places, There was the Riskians, and then there's the Anunnaki. The Anunnaki, as you may have heard, when they came here, they first were going so fast and couldn't stop, and they kissed off of Titan, which is the planet. Saturn is just gas, and they hit a planet that was in between Mars and Jupiter. It was called Meldick. They smashed that planet, and that's why you see that asteroid belt going the opposite direction of everything in our solar system.
They're traveling in a planet-sized ship.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. And when they hit Meldick, it smashed into pieces. And the beings on that planet were water beings, reptilian in nature. They were called Meldeckians. Now, I know I'm gonna give you all this, just take it in, and then, do your own research. So these Meldeckians were mad at these Riskians and Anunnaki for having destroyed their planet. Some of them were able to get off the planet, and they tried to attack Nibiru. Nibiru captured them in their force fields. And as Nibiru was still traveling and wobbling and had these ships in its force field, it was coming close to what they call Tiamat. Tiamat was their name for Earth. And these are all recorded on the Anunnaki tablets. And when they were coming into Tiamat was about 2.5 to 3 times Earth is now. These ships were revolving around Nibiru. And so one of these ships hit the planet Earth, splitting it in half. And then another ship put a hole through the center of Tiamat, ancient Earth, and broke off the moon. And so now this whole solar system was in fear of being dragged into the sun, because each planet pulls on the next planet. So if Earth is going to get dragged, then it was going to start dragging that asteroid, the asteroid belt, and Jupiter, and everything was going to get pulled into the sun. So they had to fix the planet. They had to repair the Earth, give it a new orbit, its new size, and they put 3 crafts. They call it, Dr. York calls it a tetrahedron, to keep the Earth in its current cycle. And then the beings there were beings already here on Tiamat, and then these Meldeckians, this is what the Upanishads also record as this great war, because these beings that were already here on Tiamat, the Meldeckians, the Anunnaki, the Riskians, caused an accident on this particular planet, and they had to repair it. And the beings who lost their planet, the Meldeckians, told the Anunnaki and Riskians they wanted the planet Earth as compensation. But the Riskians wouldn't agree, because they found gold on this planet that they needed to mine and take back to Rizq to repair their ozone layer. And so when they came here, they landed down after they fixed the planet. It was now no longer a 90-degree axis, but a 23.5 degree axis. And the beings that started to populate on the Earth were either right-handed or left-handed, right-eyed or left-eyed. The organs were no longer along the spine, but they were to the side of the spine. Everything got shifted. For females, one breast is bigger than the other. And I just talked about one ear is stronger than the other. Everything got shifted because you are a part of planet Earth. Whatever happens to planet Earth happens to you as well. When it shifts, if the poles shift, or I should say, when the poles shift, everything that happens on this planet happens to you. And so now we got this polar ice shift happening, and that is going to change the frequency of the planet, the frequency that the birds navigate by. It's going to affect most hummingbirds, bees, dragonflies, and humans. But as Dr. York was saying, this is why these beings came here to Earth. In addition to Panatharu, the Natharu were the first ones who set up Earth, put the dolphin in the water, caused this bacteria to grow, and grew humans from the life force that they put in the dolphin. I don't know who was here the last time we were here, but when we looked at the word dolphin, we found that it means womb. And that womb, they put in the packet of life into the waters, which is why humans are more water than we are flesh. Even though when we go to a gym, we see everybody working out the flesh, working out the body, working out, the physical. But the majority of you is water. Now, going back to water, we talked about how whenever you hold water, it records what you are thinking. Stop and think about this. This water is recording the vibration of my thoughts. The very chemical composition, if I were to look at this water, I would see a design that is commensurate with my thought. Stay with me on that. Now, we just talked about how certain extraterrestrials can give you an ink blot, and you'll know terabytes of information just from that ink blot. Water records thought. And if you were to look at this, the chemical composition of this water under a microscope, it would be a physical representation of my thoughts. And as soon as I hand this to Tito, now it's recording Tito's thoughts. You look at that same water under a microscope and its physical composition literally changes. And now it will show you a physical representation of Tito's thoughts. Now, stay with me on this. When you hold water, you charge the water with your thoughts. If there's something that you want, tell it to water and then drink the water. All the time. We went over this before, but I know people forget. Anytime you drink water, give it a blessing, like a prayer, and then drink the water. Always, never forget that, especially gratitude, because gratitude is the bridge that gets you what you want. No matter what you're going through, always give gratitude. You might see it as a hard time, a trying time, a stressful time. Always give it gratitude to nature, whether you want to call it Natharu or nature. I thank nature for this time that I'm going through, and I know you're going to get me through this, nature. I would like for you to, whatever it is, whatever you see the fix as, always never identify with your problem, because your subconscious mind is going to record that and play it back and ensure that this problem sticks with you. So what you want to do is always give it a thank you and give it your solution, and live in your solution, not the problem. Okay, that is, yes. Water is living. I have to stress this. I really want you to get this. And I'll tell you why that is. When water comes out off of the glacier and down the mountain and picks up the minerals, that is all going to be good for you, especially if you have a bottle and you take it straight from that mountain. Now, when we process water, we send it through violence, and it records that violence. When you send it through a pipe and then it has a hard angle, it smashes against the wall, it's going this way, we send it through a bunch of violence. And so where the water might be pH 9 or pH 7 or a high pH balance, after we violently beat it to get it to come through our faucet, now it might be pH negative, like at 6. 7 is like the base, and then above 7 is positive, but below 7 is negative. And water normally from your tap water will be below 7, depending on how much violence you put upon the water before you drink it. So whenever you get water from the tap, it's best let it sit for a minute or give it a prayer so that you could increase its pH balance. But you should not, I would advise not drinking it straight, pour it and drink it, because it's going to be, normally it should be at a negative pH balance. Yeah, when you boil water, I haven't tested the pH of boiling water. I haven't even looked that up. That's something I have to look up. What happens to the pH balance of boiled water? No, it flows through your body. it's not being pumped and shoved and slammed against a wall like to make these turns and these zigzags as we do through our plumbing system. Now, I've just mentioned that water records memory. Water has the memory of everything that has happened on this planet. You can tap into water, which what people are now beginning to see is the frequency is changing. They now have a talking beluga, a beluga whale. What Dr. York was saying, eventually whales, dolphins, and it was another sea creature will be able to communicate with humans and tell you what they're thinking and what they're feeling. The dolphin understands you, it understands all the languages on the planet. It's just you don't understand the dolphin. But because the frequencies of the planet are changing, these dolphins will be able to communicate with humans. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like Mr. Ed. I don't know if people remember Mr. Ed, the talking horse that can talk to people, but there will be a way in which these animals can communicate to humans what they're thinking and what they're feeling. Questions?
Now back to what you were saying, there's Rizk and Orion.
Yes.
Is there any evidence that these planets exist?
Yeah, they just recently found when Dr. York came out and said Rizk was a planet in a tri-solar system, some scientists came out and said tri-solar systems it's impossible to exist. And just, I think it was Scientific American, or I forget which magazine, they had found a tri-solar system. Again, confirming what he said to be true. But they have not yet found Rizk, as he was telling us, Rizk, in order for us humans to get to Rizk, well, let me just tell you what he said. He said there are Nibiru itself, there's many Nibirus, but it's too big to come into our solar system without causing catastrophe. It's like the size of Jupiter. So from Nibiru, they have smaller crafts called shams. Each sham seats 50 people. He said what these shams will do, and these shams are piloted, he said, by the Greys. The Greys have no emotions. So when it's time for you to be picked up, they come and they take you. There's a seat on that particular sham reserved for a brar. And so I asked him, I said, well, can anybody, if that person doesn't make it, can somebody else fill that seat? He said, no, that seat is reserved for you. And then if you fall off, you do something shady, and then you don't get picked up, he said that seat remains empty. But he said these shams, they seat 50 people each. You'll be naked. You'll be in your seat. I don't know if you're conscious or what, but the Greys pick you up, and the Greys don't have emotions. So they're not going to be like if Lonnie says, well, wait, I got to go talk to my wife. That the Greys don't care about your wife. They're mission oriented. I came to get you, and you're going now, or you're not going. That's it.
Is that a good place to go, or?
All right, well, I'm gonna come to that. So the Greys will put you on the sham, and then the sham takes you to Mars. On Mars, there used to be a base, we don't have time to go into that now. On Mars, you'll be offloaded, and then you'll be boarded onto another craft. It's I forgot how many mile long cylindrical craft. And that craft launches off from Mars and rendezvous with Nibiru. And then Nibiru then travels to Orion, and then you got Orion's belt, you got those 3 stars. And the middle star, Elnilam, there's Elnitek, Elnilam, and Mintaka. That middle star, he says, is a gateway, a portal, and it is activated through frequency. He says his voice is 3 voices in one. He is Nengish Zeta, and Anunnaki, Tahuti, and Natharu, and Yanun, a Rizgian, and it activates that portal. And through that particular portal, in Orion, it takes you on to Rizk. He says that's what it will be like. Now, he also mentioned that the Anunnaki on the disagreeable side, that's aligned with the Draconian reptilians, they also have a pickup. Theirs occurred in the year 2000 in Nome, Alaska. They picked up 144,000 people from across the planet, rendezvoused in Nome, Alaska, and then took those people. And those people will be used as food because the Draconians and that branch of Anunnaki under Enlil are flesh eaters, and they made the Adamites to do work, and then Enlil wanted to kill them off. Enki interfered with that plan, and so then the plan became to use them as food for the reptilians.
Is that enough? 144?
No, they're going to use those to reproduce a food supply, like a farm. And so that's why I was saying the movie to watch was the fifth kind, the fifth kind, because that fifth kind is a documentary about what happened in Nome, Alaska, and it's happening today. And it shows actual footage of the UFO. It shows actual footage of these possessions, and it shows the actual footage. You hear these beings speaking in the ancient Sumerian language, and they have an interpreter who knows some of the words. So I have to say, I know Saeed is scared to watch it, but you must watch the movie.
Mankind, like back in the late 30s, early 40s, Nazi Germany, right before World War II kicked off.
Okay.
But the lunar base was being established. And the debate between that whether it was the United States who made it to space first.
Okay. Yeah.
Multiple lunar bases.
Right.
And the Antarctica base.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the Pleiadians and these Draconians are the Draconians use the Pleiadians as food, and then long story short, because we're out of time, the Pleiadians asked Anunnaki for help to help create these Adamites as a substitute food for the Draconians so that they could stop hunting the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians in turn started teaching Germany about advanced technology and advanced craft. And they did help Germany establish a base on the moon, establish a base in Antarctica, and have a fleet of UFOs. These Pleiadians were trying to stake their claim on Earth. There's many groups of extraterrestrials that have come here, and this is why you see countries with similar names, because different families of extraterrestrials were staking their claim. You'll you'll see Afghanistan, Iran, Kazakhstan, all these ending in stan. That's one family. Then you got Poland, England, Finland. That's another family. Then you got North America, South America, India, Africa. Oh, that wasn't Africa. That was a continent. These titles were these extraterrestrials setting up different zones of activities, just as a farmer sets up zones for their crops and their animals.
They say that whatever that planet, it's still in the orbit. They just use supposedly a technology that's camouflage. You can't really see it.
What's still in orbit?
Whatever ship the major ship that originally arrived, that hit the planet.
Okay. Well,
it has to
no,
be
those planets,
magnetic field.
those ships got destroyed. But there are 3 ships that.
That still should be within our solar system.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Well, yeah.
They're supposedly using an advanced technology where they camouflaged it so we can't see it.
That's a good point. What happened to it? Yeah. But again, this is all recorded on these Anunnakis, on these Sumerian stone tablets by the Anunnaki. All right, so we are out of time. San or Dolly, do you have anything? Sorry, I couldn't really bring them into the conversation.
No.
No.
I don't have anything either. Great story.
What was that?
I said, I don't have anything either, but that's a great story.
Oh, and Lamar, I didn't know you were there. Yes, next week we got to bring in the speaker so I can hear everyone who's here. Does anyone have any questions or comments before we end? All right, thank you all for attending, and we'll talk to you next week.